Welcome to the Shutter Saga Podcast. I'm your host, Marvin Blue. Join me each week as we dive into amazing conversations with some of our industry's top leaders. We will talk about photography, business, and most of all, share the stories that have laid the foundation to our journey in this world we call photography. A couple of ways to support the show is to like, subscribe, and share the show with others. Leave those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and if you're a fan of seeing us live, we are on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Again, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome one, welcome all. It's another beautiful day. It's a great day to be great. If you're tuning in, this is the Shutter Saga Podcast. I'm your host, Marvin Blue. This is a fan-supported show, listener-supported show. Great way to like, subscribe, and follow. Ways to support the show always is through social media, through leaving those 5-star reviews, and to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. We give it to you free of charge, bringing on an amazing guest. We talk all things photography, life, and everything in between. With me this week is a photographer. He's a wedding photographer. He does branding, content creation. He's a husband, a father. He is a speaker, educator, philanthropist, YouTuber, everything in between. He's the amazing Ray Alvarez. Ray, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Man, it's my pleasure, man. So glad to have you on here. I mean, so you're no stranger to social media. You're no stranger to content creation. So this is like right up your wheelhouse. But so before we dive like into the history of Ray and everything, I know you're in Florida, but you come by way of NYC. Is that correct?
That's right. Brooklyn, born and raised.
Oh, man. Okay, so the pizza debate. Where is the best borough for pizza?
Brooklyn, all the way.
Brooklyn all the way. Okay. Because my experience is get a deep, not deep dish. You about to kill me before the show even gets started. No, get you a slice and then get a hot dog from a cart. That was like my best New York experience ever. The street food.
I mean, that's an experience for everybody who's like visiting New York City, but not really. For me, I mean, you wouldn't like see me get a pizza and then I never grew up on it like that. It was either pizza or hot dog, but yeah.
Oh, not both at the same time, but you got to do one like spread it out.
Yeah.
I wait on you to tell me that you were the young crazy kid, running up and down the block, going and get it. With the J-Lo saying where she was talking about growing up and everyone's like, dude, that's not how you grew up. Was that your experience where you running up and down, going to get a chopped cheese sandwich? And
I mean, yeah, that would be a daily routine. Yes, bacon, egg, and cheese on the roll, bacon, egg, and cheese on salt, pepper. You just there's a way you got to say it too.
It's so funny though when all my New York friends saw that. I said, "So how does the order really go?" And they were giving me these breakdowns of how you order the food, and they were talking about how going in about how fake her statement was about growing up and going to get a ham and cheese sandwich. They're like, that's not how you even say it. She said, that's how you know she wasn't from the block. This is how you say it. Hey, yo, and they just started giving me, and they was like, you got to put the vinegar on it. And they were like breaking down the sandwich to like a science. I was like, yeah, she was lying. You had me, you didn't have to prove it to me, but I was like, I'm there with you.
Yeah, she's been gone too long.
What kind of orange soda we talk about? We talking Welch's or we talking Fanta? What kind of orange soda we talk about? Because you got that one orange soda that's like, oh man, he broke it down. It's like being in Texas and talking about barbecue.
Yeah, no, well, at the time it was like 50-cent soda, and you would order that. I mean, $5 can go a long way.
Oh yeah,
during that time. So
same here. Go to a Mexican spot in Texas. Oh, you can get $5. You eat like a king.
Oh yeah.
Now it's gotten a little bit more expensive, but so now you're in Florida now. How long you been in Florida?
4 years now.
Okay, nice. And then so what was the transition from coming from New York to Florida? What was that like?
It was definitely a culture shock. I mean, things are different here. Definitely, for example, like let's talk about weddings real quick. The seasons change. So in New York, busy season is fall and summertime. But then after that, once the fall ends and we go into winter, it's like end of the season, not busy at all. Here it's the reverse. So summertime, we're off. It's too hot to work outside here. You're gonna be sweating crazy when you start working 5 minutes into the day. But the busy season here is fall time, winter time. It's the best time to get married here in Florida. So that's one thing that changes. In New York, you have weddings Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. It would be rare to see anything on a weekday. Here in Florida, people get married every day of the week. So that's something that's changed too. So it's good for business too, because now you can get work on the weekdays and get your weekends off. I get to spend my summers with my kids and my family. So that's also great, which is something that they've always wanted. So things like that have changed.
Now, being in Orlando, how many times have you gotten suckered to go to Disney?
So I've been to Disney quite a few times now. I'm not a Disney fanatic. I'm not that kind of person. I have a few friends who are. we go to Disney Springs every once in a while, so that's like a free admission. It's like a
Okay.
downtown kind of vibe that you can go with the family, or like people visit, they come to visit, they want to go to Disney. So yeah, I got suckered into it a few times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, when you have kids, it's like, all right, we
Yeah,
got to do Disney. When family comes over, he's like, we got to go to Disney.
or Universal.
Exactly. Like I'm not a Taylor
Hmm.
Swift fan, but I have daughters, so I know half her songs. Like, and you would think like, oh, he listens. No, my daughters do, and I have to listen to it in the car. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, my youngest is a Swiftie too, so
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's so funny. My oldest, we talk about that. I remember talking about it with Bethany. She was like, so much. She was like, I can't believe you didn't take her daughter to the concert. I said, look, I was looking at that thing. I had the order set, and I was like, please, Jaden, get into trouble so I can have a reason to say, that's why we're not going to Taylor Swift concert. And I was like, oh, she was late to class today. Oh, there you go. That's the excuse I needed. Because I was like,
yeah,
those tickets were they were expensive, but they weren't like ridiculous expensive. They weren't Beyonce level expensive, but they were still like, I would have felt it a little bit if I got those tickets. And then two, I was like, I do not want to sit through a 3-hour Taylor Swift concert.
yeah,
I was like, but it's like, it's almost like if she says, it's like, she's a daddy's girl, and I love spoiling my girls. So it's like I'm a girl dad.
same,
This is my life. So
same.
if they wake me up at 3:00 in the morning, telling me they want cinnamon rolls, you bet I'm going to be trying to find a gas station that got cinnamon rolls so I can make them. Like that's just how spoiled they are. But
Yeah,
they
here in
they're
Florida, we got something called Wawa runs.
oh man, yeah. See, we lost all the 24-hour Walmart since COVID. So I'm like, what happened to the
Yeah,
24-hour? Like, man, y'all still too much. That's why they closed them. But but
exactly.
so going forward, I mean, so when did you pick up the camera?
Um, I say around 2014 is when we
Okay.
picked up the camera.
So it was right
Um,
around the same time as me.
yeah, yeah, and it was because long story short, we went to Walmart for a family photo shoot. That was the first mistake. Don't laugh at that.
I got to.
Uh,
I'm getting the J.C. Penney portrait vibes again. Those
yeah,
moments.
yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Oh
But
man.
we went through the whole thing. At the end of it, it was like IPS format. I had no idea what the hell IPS was at the time. So they're like, yeah, you can get the CD, and yeah, CDs for like $500 and all that. At the end of it, I was like, I'm gonna just go to the electronics section. We ended up buying some digitals and some prints and stuff like that. But we went to the electronics section. It was like a Nikon there for like $400. I picked it up, and yeah, it all went up from there.
Yep. That's kind of for me. As I was something I always wanted to do, and then when I picked the camera, started charging. It was just a side hustle when I was
Yeah.
teaching. Being a high school teacher, is like, oh, I could do these portraits for $150, and I'm thinking like, okay, if I do 4 every week, or if I do 4 in the weekend, and if I do this many per month, I can have this much extra money. Like that's how I was like thinking at such. I mean, at the entry level, lowest level, you couldn't tell me nothing back then. But after I got my first run of education in photography, I was like, oh wow, I left so much money on the table. But I still
Yeah.
remember those days of the CDs and getting that first branded CD and like just feeling so proud, like, yeah,
Right.
I'm gonna burn my clients' pictures on a CD. And then
I remember those
it went to
days.
the USB, and then it went to
Yeah, yeah.
USB-Cs. Now I'm just like, how do we even give the clients like, oh no, now it's all digital galleries, online galleries. You don't even do that anymore. And now I still get the calls of like, the website you use is no longer working. I'm like, yeah, it was 3 years ago, dude.
Exactly.
You
Oh,
just
I
now
get those calls
accessing
too.
it. I'm like, God, no, I'm on. I used to use Zenfolio, then I went to CloudSpot. Now I'm thinking about switching over to PicTime. It's like, I was at Pixie, was it Pixie Set for one moment? It's like just
Yeah.
all those different ones we used SmugMug back in the day.
I used to
Is
use that. Yeah. I think I started
oh
with
man,
Smug Mug.
I was all over the place. Like when before Pass became Pass, I used it for like a brief moment, and then Zenfolio brought in their own online gallery, so I was using them for years when had my website through them, and then it was like evolving into this, and it's like every time I switch over, I think about I got to move all these galleries because I know there's going to be that one client from
Yeah.
2016 going, hey, where's my wedding photography? I'm like, dude, one, you're not even married anymore to that person, so why do you even care? And
Right.
two,
Yeah.
I switched websites. Like, how did you not download them? This is not, I know I'm supposed to archive your memories, but dude, you got to take some personal responsibility.
Listen, man, the questions I get sometimes, I'm like, really? And I keep, I hold on to those pictures. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that I have everything from 2018, and I still have those. It comes in handy because it's just more
Oh yeah.
money. Like, or you didn't download them.
Oh,
All right, look, it's gonna be like $300 to download.
yeah, I got to bring it back up. Or the worst is like, I obviously have all my raw saved on these external hard drives that are locked away or whatever, right? So when you get a wedding from like 2015, they say,
Yeah.
oh, we lost everything. We don't even have our wedding pictures anymore. I was like, it's so cool it's cool and it's frightening at the same time to pull up those old images and to
Hmm.
run it through Lightroom. Because again, luckily we have this AI editing software now that I can literally do someone's gallery in 2 hours if I need to re-archive it and bring it back up or whatever. But I just look at it going, oh my God, I sucked back then. Like, this is bad. Like, oh, what was I thinking? What pose was this? Oh,
Yeah, I don't even want to look at them.
I don't. I try to go through it so fast or get somebody to go through it for me. Like, please edit this for me real quick. Just put it, use this setting, and I don't want to look at it. It's like, oh man, it's like looking at your yearbook from high school and your haircuts. Like, oh God, what was I thinking?
Right. No, man,
Nice.
it's crazy. When you look back at your pictures and you're like, what was I thinking?
That's why I hate when people say, "Oh, post a picture from when your first wedding to where you're at now." It's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Please don't. It's like the weight loss journey. It's not something I'm proud of, man. It was very, very cringy, But
Yeah.
it's fun to go look back every once in a while. I go back and look at how much you've grown, and I mean, and speaking of your growth, man, it's like, dude, you over the past few years, you bursted on the scene. I mean, you become like a breakthrough name on the education space, on the photography space. Let's talk about that journey a little bit. When did you
Sure.
jump into? I guess what was your motivation behind the education space and kind of sharing your knowledge?
It all started when I was accepted as a speaker to Shutterfest. So I thank Sal, and everybody in the Shutterfest team for giving me the opportunity to do that. It gave me a great feeling once everything was, over and done. Once I went home, I'm like, wow, this is cool. Like I really enjoyed sharing the information I shared at that time with everybody who was there. So that gave me just a humbling experience. It was an amazing feeling to give back to the community, which is really important. And it also just started from there. I'm like, look, I think I want to really do this. I want to take form with this educational thing, and just help people out. There's people out there who do it for the wrong reasons. I'm just doing it just because I want to help people. When I started, it was on YouTube. I didn't have really a lot of people were like behind me saying, hey, do this, do that. So as long as I can just provide that information to people, it's a good day for me.
Nice. And your first touch of Southern Fest was what year again? Was
I
it?
believe it was 2022. Yeah.
Yeah, so because you were post COVID. Most of the people that I have errors on where I met it. It was either the pre COVID when I met them or the post
Yeah.
COVID. But I mean, even before Shutterfest, I mean, you were jumping on YouTube and you were putting content out there, which I know from personal experience. I mean, I tip my hat to you because there's a lot of work that goes behind it. What was the what was the foundational reason or what pushed you to go on the YouTube space?
I was getting a lot of questions from time to time. And maybe it's just because I was also excited. I'm like, wow, this is so great. This is so easy. Or you can do this, you can do that. I kind of just wanted to share that with the world. And I'm like, look, like, I know I don't have a lot of followers at the time. Let me just share this. And whoever's watching is going to watch it and enjoy it and take it with them and kind of apply it to their workflow. And someone will always be watching. Someone's always watching what you're doing. So just remember that. But then I went full force with the YouTube stuff this year. Actually, no, I'm sorry, 2023. After Shutterfest, my second visit at Shutterfest, because that's when I was like, wow, like this is for real. These people haven't given up on me. They gave me another opportunity. The people who attended my classes gave me another opportunity. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna go full force. I'm gonna go on YouTube and start filming even more stuff. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And I remember I have a few people that have taken like one of your, different classes that you offered or whatever. They're like, that's the guy you got to take this class. So I'm like excited of like,
Thank you.
for me, it's always a timing thing. Cause I do the volunteer thing at Shutterfest. So I get limited to like, okay, I can go during this time, during this time, during this time. And it's
Right.
like, I missed it. So I have to be very picky and choose on when I can go. So I was going with a plan of what it is that I want to work on. Cause at this point, I'm at the stage where I'm just sharpening my tools,
Yeah. Right.
it's like I know how to do this now. I just want to sharpen it. So I'm always like, okay. And then I always like hearing new, fresh perspectives. So I think that was always because you have your mainstays of people that have taught there for years, and then you have the new faces. And I was like, guy, let's look at these new faces because they might be
Yeah.
that bridge between where you're at to where you're trying to get. That might be that big stepping stone in the middle that you need and stuff. So.
Right.
But going on, I did get asked a couple questions. Got sit there when I told a few of my friends in my inner circle who I had coming on, and they wanted to know, as always, what do you shoot with?
So interesting story. I mean, I've been with Sony now for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I made the transition to Sony from Nikon. So at first I had Nikon, and then I had Nikon since the beginning and infancy of my career. But now I'm in Sony. Look, I'm really happy. I don't like to like shout out brands and stuff like that. Like I'm not above that. They all do the same thing, man. But at the end of the day, just Sony had a few capabilities that I really enjoyed personally, that helped me with my workflow. For example, right, the auto eye focus is a game changer. I mean, I know this is not new technology; this is older technology, but to me, it's new. And when I first got to mess around with these cameras, I was enjoying it. I was like at a wedding, right, and I'm just moving my camera around, and I'm like pointing it like this, and it's just picking up everybody. This dude has sunglasses on the dance floor. He was like dancing with it, and it was picking his eyes up. So that for me was like crazy. Nikon doesn't have that capability. So that, something like that helps out. The fact that I can transfer files right from my camera to my phone or from camera to camera, those are all things that just benefited my workflow. So to me, that was important, and that's why I just ended up loving Sony and finally made the transition. But right now, I got the Sony A7R5. I have about three of those, and I have R3 as a backup.
That's crazy. You said that's because I used to shoot with Sony, and I was like, I left off when I was at the A7 III, and then I was like, okay, I started transitioning doing video, so I need to get something that could do 4K 60 frames. And at the time, the only thing that they had was the A7R3 that did that. And I remember going, man, that thing's $3,500. I'm not about to drop $3,500 on a camera. And then I did a workshop sponsored by Canon, saw the R5 for the first time, saw the 51.2, and I was like, oh, this is sick. And then I was like, all right, I swapped it out. And then I was like, I got this this badass lens. I got this amazing camera. I can do 4K 60. Plus, I just started doing video. I was like, I'm in. And then it's like, I jumped over to Canon. So I like you. I always joke that it's like the houses of Hogwarts when it comes to camera brands. It doesn't matter which house you're with, man. Just be happy you're in Hogwarts. And that's how I look at it with cameras. It's like, dude, all of them have their capabilities, and really at the end of the day, it's what we use with them. But I just love how we all like just in all good spirit, good fun, bag on everybody that uses something different.
Yeah, it's all fun and games, man. But you know, it's just at the end of the day, like when it comes down to business, I mean, just this body work for me. And to also kind of answer that question, the reason why I ended up doing the switch was I was in a position where I had to make a decision. So I had the Nikon bodies, which were all mirrorless, and then I had one DSLR left over. All of my lenses were still for the DSLRs. They weren't compatible. They were compatible with the mirrorless camera, but I had to have an adapter for it.
Yep.
So once I took them to the camera shop, they're like, yeah, all of your lenses have fungus on it. And I'm like, I didn't even know that. So when they described it to me and they told me about it, I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of crazy. And I've had these cameras and lenses for years, and I beat my equipment up. Like, I don't take care of myself. I'm very irresponsible with my equipment. You know, as a business owner, as a business photographer, I have insurance, so I don't have to really worry about that stuff. So when they told me that, you know what, it's to figure it out. Do I buy a new camera? At the time, I really wanted the Z9. The Z9, if I can remember correctly, it was like almost like $5,000-$6,000.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. And I really wanted that camera. I really wanted it. But then on top of the $5,000 or $6,000, I had to spend way more money on the lenses, all of the Z lenses that will be compatible with that camera. So now you're talking about a lot of money. So at the time, I'm like, that's when my friends were showing me the Sony A7R4, and they were like, yeah, it's this price. It was like $2,000 or some change. And then at that time, I've already played around with Sony enough to the point where I was like, you know what, I really like this. So I ordered the Z9 prior to this event. Ordered the Z9. The Z9 was in my house waiting for me. It was in the mailbox. And that same day, I'm working with my guys, and they finalized the decision for me. They were like, look, this is it. So after a long time of playing around with Sony, I made the decision. I got home. I didn't even open the Z9. I sent that thing.
Oh, wow.
I sent it right back. And I placed an order for two R5s and the lenses. And I just decided to start all over with fresh equipment. And it was a great investment.
Oh yeah, nah. And it's like you probably had that like new sneaker feel when it as a kid, like when they had the new cameras. Oh, like these aren't even used; these are new. It's like that fresh, new car smell with the lenses, and I know that feeling.
The cool thing about it too was that one of the benefits of the Sony is that you can literally change every single button function on the camera. So the cool thing was that the transition of getting used to the body and the menu and the buttons that were on my Nikon, I customize it to be the same on my Sony. Okay. So it wasn't too hard to transition and be used to where your shutter speed dial was, or like the different buttons you see here. Like this was all the same as a Nikon, and I set it up that way. So it worked out for me very well.
Nice, nice.
Hmm.
Oh man, we went down the geek trail just now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what happens when you get a bunch of photographers, when you get just a couple photographers together and we start talking gear and we're
Yeah.
going down that rabbit hole and we're like, yeah. And I guarantee you there's gonna be somebody that doesn't even know what photography anything about photography. The most they do is their iPhone. They're going, what the hell are these guys talking about?
Buttons,
Yeah.
menus. I mean, a lot of people hate the Sony menu too because they're like, man, that thing is like long and you got to go here for this and here for that. And it wasn't that hard. I think they changed it with the R5, so it makes it a little bit more simple to use. But I mean, coming from Nikon, this menu is easy. And some people might look at me like, you're crazy, bro. But no, it's an easy menu to navigate.
Well, the fact that you're mentioning that you shoot Sony, I guarantee you, I got a couple of dozen of my listeners that shoot Sony. They're probably cheering up and down, going, "Yeah, woo, Team Sony,
So
yeah."
just put the
It's like,
logo like right here.
there you go, exactly. I'm gonna get it tatted on my chest. Nah.
Um,
So, what was it about weddings that because I mean, I know you from the wedding photography scene. So, what was it about weddings that over the different genres of photography?
So when I first picked up the camera, I was shooting everything and anything. So, I mean, we all do it, and I enjoyed a few things. At the time, I was enjoying food photography, but I had no idea what I was doing. So that was crappy. I worked with a few models here and there, and that was fun too. I really did enjoy like doing portraits and stuff like that. I ended up shooting some cars. That was really fun too. I'm not really a car guy, but taking pictures of cars was a whole different world for me. But then eventually, you're gonna enjoy the story. Um, I went on Craigslist.com at the time.
Yes. Oh, this you got me at Craigslist. Oh, here we
This
go.
is good, right?
Let me get the coffee ready.
Oh man, so I went on Craigslist.com. I don't know for what reason I did it, but I was looking for work. I was like, oh, let's. I kind of want to see what this is like when I start getting paid. So there was a guy. He was like, hey, I need a second photographer for a wedding. Blah blah blah. It was like 8 hours and stuff. So I sent him a message, and it was this older gentleman. He was like, yeah, look, I need a second shooter, and it's like 30 minutes from your house. I'm like, all right, let's do it. I did the wedding for 8 hours. I drove 30 minutes, did the wedding for 8 hours, drove back home for 30 minutes, and I got paid $50 to second shoot for this man. And, it was $50 at the time. That really sucked. I had no idea. Like $50 for me was great. I was like, okay, it covered my gas, whatever. But the experience that it gave me that one day of doing it, and the introduction to the wedding scene was amazing because it all started right then and there. So I will forever hold that date in my heart. And of course the photographer too. Like he's I'm thankful for that because he gave me that opportunity. It opened up my eyes. It gave me an opportunity to learn about weddings and see how they work. People might think I'm crazy for this, but I love weddings. I know.
Yep.
People are like, "How can you like weddings?" But
They're fun. I mean, I still to this day I get a kick out of them. They're fun. There's always challenges and experiences that I love taking, especially when I'm cold shooting is what I call it, where I just show up and I shoot the wedding. I've never met the couple, like I got hired by their parents or something like that. To be able to garner someone's trust that fast and be responsible for those moments for them and then create
yep,
this magic for them and these memories and these moments, and then they walk away going, wow, this was us. So, or you made my day remarkable. I'll never forget this day. I'll never forget these moments or whatever. And then you captured it in a way to where when they look through their album, they relive their wedding every time they look at their album. To me, that's so important, especially just coming from a background where I don't have a lot of those pictures. I don't have that wedding album. I don't have those things growing up. I didn't do the family pictures. When we lost a relative, we scrambled to look for pictures, and now I've
right,
become the guy that tries to get as many pictures of everything and everyone as much as possible because I know what it's like to not have that, and I hold on to that with the intent of I'm proud of like every Father's Day when the bride posts a picture of her and her dad. Every
yes,
Mother's Day, she posts a picture or they post a picture of their mom. Every time it's a friend's birthday and they use the wedding picture. Every time someone passes away, they're using that picture that they took with them or that candid picture that I was able to get or that moment. And they were like, this is when their smile was their greatest. And like all those things,
exactly.
that still means something to me. And I still get this internal high off of it, like, yeah, we did it, So yeah.
Likewise, the feeling is mutual, man. I mean, on Facebook, you're scrolling out through your feed on Mother's Day, Father's Day,
Yep.
birthdays, holidays, and they're like, "Oh, look, my dad. Oh, look, my mom." You're looking at that photo, and you're like, "Wow." Or like even like their profile photos, like their default profile photos, when they posted the very next day from their wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that we offer is called the 24-hour sneak peek. where they get some photos, something that I pick, some highlights that they can enjoy. And the reason I do it is for two reasons. One, I want my photo to be the one that they put as their default profile photo. I'm
Yep.
like, yeah, this is us. We just got married. Congratulations to us, and all their family members do it. But it's also a marketing technique. It's like, look, if you give it to them the next day and they're happy about it, their friends who saw you working that wedding, who are going to be getting married, are going to be like, wow,
Yep.
that was quick. I want to hire that man.
I booked like that's how I broke into destination weddings, and I don't even say
Yeah.
I don't even call myself a destination wedding photographer. I call myself a lucky bastard that was able to marry. It was like, oh, because again, it's just the shit talking that we do. They're like, oh yeah, well yeah, we're getting married next spring. Oh yeah, we're getting married in Puerto Rico, and I just gonna say, oh, I travel like that, and then they see the pictures like they see the pictures the next day. They see their friend. They see how she reacted. And they're like, well, let's call and see how much it is. They said, well, how much would it be for one? I said, well, you just pay, we build your package and then we just add the travel fee. What's the travel fee?
Exactly.
Oh, I just charge this much because it just covers the flight, and the hotel. And they're like, oh,
Pretty
okay.
much, yeah.
They're like, that's not bad or whatever. And then it's like that built-in trust because they know you knocked out our friend's wedding and you knocked it through the park and it was amazing. So we know you're going to put even more effort because you're traveling, you're bringing, and it just, that's how it happens. And,
Yeah.
You're like, sweet, now I tell people, other photographers, as much as I love traveling, I love staying local because there's so much that comes with traveling that and I'm sure you
Yeah.
can speak on that too. It's like it seems cool on paper when people look at it like, oh man, it must be amazing, and it is amazing. And I'm not complaining at it by no means. I'm very blessed to be able to do it, but man, to be gone from the wife and kids for 3-4 days or whatever, I try now. The attitude I have is this is a paid vacation away from the wife and kids.
Right.
Enjoy yourself, have a cigar, sit back and relax and then do what you love doing. But man, it's always like I'm a big softy at heart. I love being at home with the kids and just having fun and watching Disney Plus and I'm a homebody when I can be.
Yeah.
When it's time to work, I go work, but then home is where my heart is. So
Man, you and I are so alike. I feel the same way about it. It's like I've done a lot of travel weddings.
Mhm.
Till this day, I'm still getting a few travel weddings here and there. And I love it. I really love it because it gives you that travel feeling. You get to travel the world or go wherever it is that wedding may be taking place. And you get to explore and adventure that city or country. But at the same time, it's tricky, especially nowadays with the airline industry and the way things are working.
Ooh,
It's just
man.
crazy because now, instead of going the day before the wedding, you probably have to do it 1 or 2 days before the wedding
Yep.
because, cancellations, delays are all affecting the airlines. And then if you don't show up, man, that's going to be a whole problem there.
Oh
So,
yeah.
you got to make sure that you book it a few days in advance and then also think of your way back home. What if things get canceled? Like I got today, I'm going to be delivering a wedding to my bride and groom. They went on their honeymoon. Their pictures are ready. But guess what? They're not even home today because now their flight got delayed.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it got delayed was because we actually have a hurricane coming here in Florida. It's on its way today, so it's canceling a lot of stuff, a lot of flights, and here they're very, very, very strict with airlines and cancellations at this airport here.
Okay. Yeah. Nah, and Florida, man, you guys get hit with hurricanes all the time. I feel like every 5 minutes there's another hurricane, so it's like it's almost to where I don't even react anymore when they say So my thoughts and prayers with you guys. I hope it's just another Passover again and nothing
No,
doesn't
this is a
affect you
small
guys.
storm. Yeah,
Okay,
this is a small storm, and
that's good.
for like I worry more about the people on the coastal lines. Like we're centrally located. That stuff really doesn't affect us much. But yeah, for sure. Shout outs to the people who go through this stuff. More power to them.
Yeah. Well, let's switching gears. Okay, so obviously weddings. I mean, but you're known for branding. You wear a lot of hats. So like, how did that come about? Was it just kind of one of those things that happened organically?
Yeah, it happened organically. Let's rewind a few years ago when I was in New York before I moved to Florida. I was doing mostly weddings. That's my bread and butter. That's what pays the bills, what keeps a roof over my head. But I was doing creative portraits alongside my wife. She does the makeup for a lot of our clients. A lot of the work that we were receiving on the weekdays was more commissioned work, commissioned art, where people will want to get beautiful portraits of themselves, get all dolled up with the makeup and all that, and then come in, get some nice pictures. We were actually laughing about this the other day because we felt like a lot of our clientele were kind of competing with each other. Like, all right, I'm gonna get a photo shoot with Ray and Kay, and they would go ahead do the photo shoot, and then something trendy will come up, and I know, well, I'm gonna hire Ray and Kay for this photo shoot, and they were kind of competing with each other to post it on social media, and they're like, oh no, you know what? I'm gonna hire someone. We loved it, but shortly before we moved to Florida, yeah, I got a kick of what the commercial side of things looked like. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that. Headshots and at the time there wasn't really much content creation. So then fast forward moving to Florida, I have to start over. I'm a nobody here. Like I was a nobody here. And now I have to sit there and find a new clientele and start over. So you pretty much have to go back to the roots of being a new photographer. Although you carry all of this experience, you have to start over. So, now I have to open up my books and see what I can do. So instead of just focusing on portraits and weddings, I kind of have to expand my horizons and meet new clients. So that's when content creation was coming up now, and people wanted pictures, people wanted stuff for their businesses. So I took advantage of that. I started doing headshots. I started doing content creation. I love headshots. I really enjoy doing it. Um, to shout out my boy from Fort Lauderdale. He's awesome. MP, he put me onto the headshot game, and I really do enjoy doing that. But as people want more content for their business, that's when I learned, hey, you know what? I have to open up and branch out to that market because the market is also changing, especially nowadays. Now everything is pretty much content creation. Everything is pretty much branding. Everybody is learning that they don't have to work a 9 to 5. They can be an entrepreneur, have their own business, and with that comes that demand for content because these people are like, I want to look good for my brand. I don't want to run a faceless brand. I want to be somebody. So I need to hire a professional to capture great photos of me, to capture great video of me, so that way I can produce my brand. So it kind of went organically, but it was also something with the market shift.
Nice, nice. Now, when you went to Florida, you said you're there for 4 years. Did you go pre-COVID or post-COVID?
I went post-COVID.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So you really came in when, so to rebuild in a new state post-COVID, that was very much a tricky a navigation for you then.
It was definitely a tricky and hard to navigate. It's not something that I expected. That's probably poor planning in my part. Because you thought you can just pick up and just go and go from there. But like I said, nobody knows who I am. There's nothing to stand on, right? You can stand on the reviews and the experience, but that's all back there. That's all back in New York. It's not here in Florida. So everything's different here. Now you have to also understand there's a ton of other photographers here that you have to stand out from. So what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to your clients that makes you or sets you apart from all of these other photographers? And that's where the whole experience thing came from. And that's my slogan now, which is trademarked. It's not a photo shoot, it's an experience. And that's what you have to do. You have to provide an experience to your clients, make them have fun. The moment that they inquire to the moment you deliver those photos, you have to make sure that they're happy and that they have everything that they wanted and that vision resonated with what you do. And you deliver that vision, you deliver the art that you created with that client. So it's all about the experience.
Okay, so would you say that was your tool, your biggest tool or asset, making you stand out when you went to a new area? Because I mean, this is something that a lot of people are facing now, when they say they got to move or they're going somewhere different. So definitely, this is something I would love to pick your brain on. Was the experience kind of the biggest factor on what made you stand out into a new market?
Yeah, it was definitely the experience. It was also the quality that you bring. Something that I learned was that not a lot of people shoot in the style that I have. I'm big on off-camera flash and that New York style that I had up there that was really trendy that a lot of people were booking me for. A lot of people don't do that here. So you might find it, but it's rare. So that was one thing that stood out to people like, wow, his lighting is amazing. Without sounding arrogant, really good at lighting. I really enjoy it. And when I focus on doing a portrait session or a headshot session with somebody, I want to make sure my lighting is gold. I want to make sure the whole photo is going to be clean. And that's something you don't see a lot. There's a lot of photographers who don't do it because A, they don't know how to do it, or B, they're still struggling with it and they're not seeking that educational part of it. But they just don't balance that ambient and that off-camera flash lighting well, and it just doesn't look clean. So when a client sees a really clean image, it almost looks like AI or a stock image, they're like, I want that. And that's where you create that demand. So that mixed in with the experience where you're holding this person's hand throughout the whole part, like I said, from beginning to end, they're enjoying that. And people really like it when you personalize it. So it just helps. So that blended with the experience makes it where people really want to work with you a lot.
Nice. Now, because this is one of the questions that did get popped up in my pre-show inquiry thing, with beginning off camera flash, what is some of the tips you have for someone that's really trying to start the process, because like you said, people don't know how to balance the ambient light versus in the natural light, and off camera flashlight and all that good stuff. So what is it, I guess, what are the beginning things that people can do to kind of like bridge that gap in, without obviously hopping into class, taking one? Like, what are the like short things, the shortcuts they could take?
I mean, it all starts with the settings in your camera. Like, learn the basics, right? Before you implement flash or lighting to anything, just learn the basics. You really have to understand how to even mess with natural ambient light first in order to comprehend what off-camera flash may look like. So I would say if you have a camera and you know your settings and you know the basics, buy a strobe, buy a $80 to $100 strobe on Amazon or one of the big companies where you can buy photography equipment. Get yourself a $100 strobe and start practicing with that. I remember many years ago there was a Facebook group called Strobist or something like that,
Mm,
and it was always speed lights. So I would recommend get a speed light, start with that, play around with it, and practice. Right, just put it into practice. Once you navigate that, then you can think about kind of upgrading and getting other lights, adding more lights into the mix, or work with stronger lights. But just to practice with one speed light, two speed lights, that's a great way to do it. And then after that, just keep going.
nice. And yeah, like I said, don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Don't,
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
you don't know how bad your lighting is until you try it. And it's like, okay, this is too much power. Dial back the power. It's just like,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously I would say, don't let a wedding be the time you try this stuff out for the first time. Don't be afraid to grab your friends and say, hey, look, I need to work on
yep,
this lighting, and, grab a model, go on those model groups that do models that need free shots or whatever, and just say, hey, on Saturday at 4 o'clock, I need to work on, and tell them what your intent is. I need to work on shooting
exactly,
in harsh light in the middle of the day. So I want to do a shoot at 3 p.m. Is anyone available? And
exactly.
offer to buy coffee or lunch. Like, you'd be surprised at how many people show up, and and again, it's their opportunity of like, look, I need fresh new pictures for my content. It's like
hmm
just look for time for pages. Do it on your own time and kind of control your pacing. And then obviously when you go to conferences like Shutterfest or the Boca Summit or WPPI or Imaging USA or ClickCon or wherever, and you see classes like everything but key light creative portraits with a duo. you know I'm
Thank
giving
you,
you a
man.
shouting out your page, your class for Shutterfest for next year. But it's so funny because like Shutterfest isn't until they've already announced the classes and speakers for next year, and yet I literally see people polling questions like, "Hey, what do you think of this class?" And I'm like, because I don't. I guess I'm notorious for not pulling punches, but I would just say, look, I'll read the title and I'll read it and get my perspective of what I think the class is going to be about and what I know about the instructor, and I'll just say, yeah, if that's what you're trying to learn. But the first question I would say is, what is your goal? What is your intent? What do you want to learn? Like, if you want to
Right,
learn wedding photography, you should take a bunch of wedding photography classes from wedding photographers, not
right,
someone who specializes in senior photography. Oh, well,
exactly.
I'm taking this amazing lighting class. Well, there's like 6 other lighting classes specific for wedding photography. Why aren't you taking those? Oh, I like so and so. Well, that's great, but they
Yep.
don't do what you do. It's like, it would be like trying to build a muscle car to, just drive to the daycare. Like, you don't need all that. You just need to get to and from. So do what works for you. But that's neither here nor there. But when going back into the education side, when creating these classes, because like I said, you said just now earlier, it's not a photo shoot, it's an experience. Where are you finding, I guess, the not the content I want to use, I don't want to use the word content, but what are you finding the why behind it? Where, obviously you said earlier
For the classes,
yeah, you said you want to help people, whatever, but what was the whys with each of those classes? Because it's a range of different ones, so and it speaks
right.
to anyone, whether you're doing portraits or whether you're doing weddings. So you kind of tailor it to what you do, but how did you create your whys for those?
So I would say that it all starts off with you have to always bring something new to the table, right? And again, OCF, gels, it's not new. There's, like you said, there's going to be like 6 or 7 other classes with other people who do it. The beautiful thing about that is everybody teaches differently. Everybody does something differently. So you can always learn more about those people, and that's why they share their social media and their websites on that page, so you can dig deeper as to that person, that educator, to see their workflow, how they work, how they speak, and how they teach, so you can say, you know what, I want to work with this guy, or I want to go to this guy's class. But it all starts with that. You have to bring something new to the table. The fact that Shutterfest is very strict as to who they choose, so you have to make sure that your class stands out. One of the things that I've enjoyed doing is lighting classes at Shutterfest, because I feel like that's where a lot of people resonate with me. They want to see it from my perspective, so they join that class for that reason. I feel like I couldn't let go of my lighting classes, so I have to kind of do it in a way where it's fun. It's not the same as last year, But it's interesting for the folks, right? Because I listen to a lot of people. I get messages on a daily. So like if people try to reach out to me on Messenger, you might not hear from me for a few hours or probably a day or two, because I get so many messages from people complimenting me or asking me questions or just sending me stories, and I welcome it. I love it. But it gets a little overwhelming sometimes. But listening to people ask some questions, I kind of take them in, I write them down, and I'm like, all right, these are things that I can speak on, whether it be on my channel, whether it be at Shutterfest or a workshop that I host. So I gather those ideas together. I listen to the reviews that they write post Shutterfest, where they're like, hey, look, Ray, you should have done it this way, you should have done it that way. And I take that all into consideration to then build the why and build the class for next year. One of the things I can say is, I kind of want to add to that, is when we receive those post reviews from Shutterfest attendees, some of them, I can understand how people feel. They're like, Ray, well, you should have spoken more on this, or you should have spoken more on that. People don't seem to remember that we're only limited 2 hours. And one of the things that I can pride myself on for my classes is I give everybody the opportunity to shoot. Everybody walks out of my class with 1 or 2 shots of the person who was there with the lighting technique that I spoke on, and they get to go home with that. And not a lot of educators can say that, especially at any of the conferences that happen nationwide all around the year. So with that being said, I have to dedicate enough time for that. So when we look at the reviews, there's just some things that don't seem realistic. They're like these expectations that they're expecting from me or from anybody. They have to kind of break it down and see why we didn't do it that way. But yes, those reviews are important to us, and this is why we take the time to build on that and take that in consideration so we can build something for next year.
Yeah, I mean, and I always, in I look at education like this. There's two sides of it. There's the teaching side, and then there's the student side. I personally feel that the teacher side, they're given too much flack, because sometimes you have to be a good student in order to learn. And when
Yeah.
you go in closed minded to a class and you go in, well, I know this and I know that, and you know it all. I've always said it, I've openly said it to people. If you were as good as you said you were, you'd be on the stage, not in the crowd.
Right.
So
Right.
let them teach, be open minded, because sometimes they might have said something that would have helped you, a little thing you could have easily done to, your flash or to your settings or whatever, that would have given you the goal that you wanted, but you were so close minded and you were too busy talking that you missed
Right.
that. You missed that. You might hear them say, hey, if you shoot it at a little ISO, it's going to create, you could focus more of the lighting on the subject and then darken the background and still get that, cinematic lighting that, that, and then you show the picture. This is how you create that, and they're too busy going, "Oh, that's too much power," or God,
Exactly.
I don't use Pro Photo. They, show me how to do that on the Westcott or Geekoto or whatever. It's like, dude, okay, the the idea is there. You just learn how to, like, my settings on this Westcott versus Geekoto or Pro Photo or Godox or whatever. Yeah, all the
Right.
settings are different, but the same concept is there. If I shoot this at half power, doesn't matter what camera brand or what lighting brand I'm using. This concept was half power when you're this
Right.
close, half power when you're this far out or this close up or whatever. Like, knowing just those little things, you don't even need to worry about what brand of lighting you're using. It's just, okay, if you have the lighting really close, this is what it's going to do. That's what you need to learn. It doesn't
Right.
matter like what we did. It could be a damn headlight from a car. But if you move it close, it's going to be more impactful to the body, versus if it's far away, it'll be feathered. Like, that's what they say, feather the lighting. Well, what does feathering mean? I use a Pro Photo. How do I feather it? You're like, okay, we need to take a step back here. Don't worry about
Right.
what you're using, worry about the technique behind it. So I always say you have to, as a student, take personal responsibility in your education and being open-minded to learning. So, and I get it, you take a class and you want to like learn as much as you can, and you want it to change the trajectory of your career and your art and everything, and you just have to accept it for, like, okay, this is what you're going to learn. You're going to learn as much as you allow yourself to learn. So it's easy to take the class, write a shitty review and shit on that person, but understand they cultivated a class that was beneficial for you, but you didn't accept the teachings. So how fair is that to the instructor? So I always just challenge everybody to be a better student,
Yeah. Like, for example, one of the reviews, and I pulled it up here just so I can read it directly the way it was written. One of them said, it was very difficult to hear a lot of the info he shared. Great content. Unfortunately, I missed out a lot of what he said. So I'm looking at this review and I'm like, really? Like, when I'm speaking, and I can remember this clearly, all of my classes were indoors, and we were in a
Mm-hmm.
small room. They were big classes, but there was ample space for people to get closer. I remember that clearly. And throughout the entire time that I'm speaking, multiple times I said, "Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me back there? Can you guys hear me back there?" And everybody either nods, yeah, yeah, and or nobody says anything. But you wait until the very end for those reviews to come in for you to tell me you couldn't hear me. But if I
Yeah.
asked you there, right then and there, "Can you hear me?" Come up close. I'll personalize it. I'll speak louder. Come closer to me. You know, things like that. Or I received one. Let's see here if I can pull it up.
Yeah, while you're pulling it up, like I just remember because I volunteer, the class that I
Yeah,
volunteer for. I don't want to say her name, obviously,
yeah,
and it's not no secret because everyone knows who I volunteer with because we're close friends. But I read one of the reviews one time, and I remember just laughing because I said that's got nothing to do with her class because like we don't like when you say, "Hey, I need models for my class," you don't control what models you get. It's who they
right.
send you. So when they say I didn't really like the dress or the dress that the model was wearing for the engagement shoot or the model
Right.
that was doing the engagement shoot really wasn't the dress really wasn't, engagement like. Well, we didn't have any control over that. Like you
Yeah,
can't,
exactly.
now did she look amazing? Absolutely. Could her outfit been a little bit more tailored to an engagement session? Absolutely. It looked more like she was doing a business, kind of like a business fashion, kind of like, oh, she's a lawyer. She's wearing kind of like a pantsuit, slacks, whatever, and she wore like this
Okay.
really nice blouse. And I said, but yeah, I get it. You would rather her be in a dress, like a sundress kind of dress or a flowy dress with a man and everything for the engagement. But she was wearing that. And he was wearing a suit. I've had couples that are like that. Like they're both
Yeah.
lawyers. She doesn't wear dresses. Her wedding dress was very much, you could tell it's tailored to her personality. It wasn't I want to be a princess. It was literally like, I'm wearing a dress, but this dress is a statement. It says I'm in a dress, but it says I'm still power. Her dress tailored her personality, and you could tell like,
Exactly.
because she wasn't a dress person, but when we shot her engagement, she wore, pants and a nice sleeveless blouse, and she looked
Right.
amazing. But that's her version of being, night on the town. She doesn't wear dresses, but she wears expensive stilettos.
And yeah, and that's completely fine. I mean, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the background of the engagement class was about, but if it's an engagement class, I'm going to assume that they're teaching you lighting, probably. They're teaching you
Hmm.
posing,
Posing. Yep.
direction. So, I mean,
Exactly.
that
And
has nothing
that's
to do
what,
with the
and,
outfit.
and we gave, and it's like, especially when we got to the point where we said, okay, you're getting close to the end and you're doing the speed posing. Like, we just taught you how to do 40 poses in 5
Yeah.
minutes or whatever, or, how to just take this one pose and transition it into like 15 different poses. And you're so fixed on her outfit. Like, are you kidding me? Like, shut your mouth, record that, and learn what we just taught you, because you could take
Yeah.
that to your amazingly well-dressed clients. And when you apply that, now you're going from, oh, I'm done with their portraits and we got 25 fire images, to now we have 75, 80. And
Hmm.
it went from, oh, they might order a couple of things. They might order something for their, save the dates, to now they want, hey, we're going to do an album book that we're going to have everyone sign. Now you could design, now you've got a thing that you can create. Hey, this is a 40-page signage book. And then you just show them the design and they're like, oh yeah, you just saved us a ton of work. Yeah, how do we buy that? And you're like, oh yeah, it's going to be this much money. Oh, great. Now you just increasing your sales. So again,
Yeah.
everything on the back end can benefit you, but on the front end, you got to be the better student. But yeah, tell me about
Yeah.
that review you got.
Oh, no, it was just another one that says, love the class, just wish I would have learned more. It would have been better without hands-on. So I love the review. That right there helps me, right? But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I love hands-on because I feel, in my opinion, that other people enjoy hands-on.
Yep.
Because there's those learners that will listen to you, and there's those learners who get bored of just listening and they want to see action, and then they want to also try it out themselves. So I feel like people are more into their learn more in my hands-on classes than it is where I'm just talking and yapping and I get bored with that kind of stuff. So I just put myself into their shoes and I'm like, all right, let me see if this class will work best. So I mean, I love the review. It's definitely helpful. It's definitely insightful. But it's just, I'm sorry, I have to do hands-on classes.
Yeah, no. I mean, because I said, when you're doing a lecture class and you look up and you see
Hmm.
everybody looking at their phone, not looking at you, you're like, oh crap, I just lost the class. It gets in your head when you're
Yeah,
teaching. And I said, that's
yeah.
the worst feeling in the world, is when you're teaching. You try to make eye contact with them to build that connection. They're just looking at their phone like, yeah, it's like, dude, it's like being on a date and they're on the
Hmm.
phone the entire time. But yeah, but yeah. So we'll transition into this last piece because I got you. It's been 48 minutes, so I definitely want to value your time and not keep you
No,
all
man, I
day.
appreciate you. I
Um,
appreciate you talking to me.
so we spoke. Obviously you're married, father, kids. You mentioned you working with your wife and everything. How much how much does that play a part in, you know, the balance of, because I mean a lot of people don't work with their spouses or do work with their spouses, so tell me about that. Have you been able to successfully navigate? Because me personally, I love Tasha to death, but I'm not trying to run a business with her. It's like she plays the perfect role with supporting my career and, you know,
Yeah,
allowing me to but I mean, so I always say I tip my hat to the couples that can be married and work together, you know.
yeah. You know, speaking of the devil, she's actually coming in right now. But no, it's definitely fun to see it that way. So, you know, traditional couples, right? Let's just step out of photography real quick. Traditional couples, they would go out on dates. They would go on vacation together. They
Mhm.
would do things that normal people do that don't involve photography and stuff. But yes, we still go out on dates. We still vacation. We still travel together. But this is just one of those things like everybody has a hobby, right? And although this is work for us, it's still technically a hobby because we have a passion for it. We enjoy it. So while she's sitting there enjoying her makeup, applying makeup to either herself or her clients, and then those clients or her working with me, it's still fun for us. We enjoy it, and it's a good pastime. Um, of course, we bump heads. Anybody, you know, if I didn't admit that we bump heads, then we're not being realistic here. What kind of
Yep.
humans are we? But yeah, we bump heads from time to time, and that's fine. That's normal. But no, most of the time we're enjoying our company together. We're getting creative, and it's funny because when we get creative and we're in that element, we kind of step outside of that husband and wife position, and we're more focused on establishing a great experience for that client, right? So if we're
Okay.
working with our client, we want to make sure that that client is happy, that they're enjoying the duo, right? They're enjoying the makeup, they're enjoying the photography aspect of it, and they go home happy. So they leave me a good review, they leave her a good review, and combined we have great reviews. Our company just leveled up a few steps. Um, but when I'm working with her, this is more like passion projects, right?
Okay.
So we're having a lot of fun. This is how we spend our time together. We're creating, our creative juices are flowing in our minds. She'll go in with the makeup, I'll go in with the photo shoot. Believe it or not, a lot of our photo shoots that we do together are unplanned in the sense where she's like, look, I'm gonna go make a face, and then throughout the makeup process, I'll go and step in and see where she's kind of at with it. And then based on that, I'll go ahead and say, all right, I'm going to light it this way. I'm going to use this backdrop, or we're going to go somewhere, and this is where we're going to go based on that look, based on that outfit. So a lot of it is unplanned sometimes, and that's where we kind of enjoy it because it's just creative. So yes, we spend a lot of time together, but then that's when we'll stop. We'll come back home, and that's when our kids are waiting for us, and we'll hang out with them, or we'll do something else. Or then by the time it's the evening comes around, we're hanging out, we're laying down in bed or something. That's when you kind of just decompress, right? And together we're either talking about that or we stop talking about that. We start talking about something else: school, work, family, whatever it may be. So yeah, it could be interesting. It could kind of be you bump heads from time to time, but that's good because it's normal to be that way. It's normal to say disagree. All right, I don't like the color red behind this outfit. I want the color blue. Things like that is what makes your relationship stronger. And I think that our relationship is stronger because we involve our hobby slash work in this family. And believe it or not, photography does surround his family. For example, one of my kids, she's into video. And you can tell because she's like, Dad, can I have a camera? And I'm like, wow, okay, you want a camera?
Yep.
I'm gonna give you a camera, no problem. But you can't just force a camera on somebody. So photography definitely revolves around our family quite a bit. But they understand that we're both entrepreneurs. We both work full time in our self-employed jobs. And yeah, it becomes a family function.
Nice. I love that your kid wants a camera now. Like it's one of those things. Like I was hoping that one of the girls would be like, I want a camera, and my youngest is like, I want to get a camera. So like I'm gonna get her like the Casio digital camera probably, so she could just take out, because she's wearing out my phone right now. Like I look up and
Yeah,
she has my phone, iPad. I'm like, you literally destroyed all of my folders, because she'll like all her stuff and she'll clear out a folder to make room for her own. I'm like, you can't go into my wedding folder and put your pictures of your selfies in there, sweetie. That doesn't work. I need
right.
this to. This is how I organize my social media so I can post every day. I'm like, where's the
Hmm.
pictures that I put here? And I was like, I see her selfie like, like, oh my god.
Right. No, that's what my daughter did. She had her own iPad, and one day they just come up to us and they're like, "Oh, hey, look what we did, dude." She scripted the whole thing, so it was a video.
No.
She
Mhm.
she wrote it down, came up with the idea, scripted the whole thing, recorded it with the iPad, and then cut it up and edited it, and then sent it to us. And like, hey, look, this is what we did. We saw it. It was like, wow. She even had the behind the scenes at the end, the credits.
Yep.
She's like, this is the credits. This is the behind the scenes. And that's when I knew. I'm like, all right, now something's
And
going on
see,
here. She has that.
Artemis has done that too, where she had the iPad set up and she was doing a makeup tutorial. I'm like, you're 7. Why
Yeah,
are you doing? First off, why am I even letting you wear the kid wake up in the first place? But she's having fun. But she's doing tutorials as if she's doing. And she's like, hey guys, and she's like she's got an entire like live stream going on. I'm just like
right.
peeking in the room and I'm over there trying not to bust out laughing. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like telling her like, you need to come look at your daughter. And she's looking. And she'll look in. She's like, you gotta be kidding me right now. And she's just,
It's,
I mean,
yeah,
into it. And I'm like, oh God. But this
it's
is the
cute.
era
It
that,
is cute.
yeah, it's the era they live in though. So,
Yeah, that's technically what it is too. Yeah,
yep,
the content comes back into play here.
exactly. Content creating at a young age.
Yep, yep.
Yep. But hey, man, yeah, dude, we ended on that great note, man. Thank you so much for your time today. Where can everyone find you at on social media?
On all platforms, you could just look up Shoot with Ray. So, Shoot with Ray. If you want to look at my wedding stuff, it's simple to spell. Weddings by Ray. You can't misspell that. Come on. But no, Shoot with Ray on everything. You can find more of my portfolio, my work, my YouTube channel, our portraits that we do together, Kay and I. Pretty much everything on all platforms is Shoot with Ray.
Okay, cool. We'll make sure we tag all your information in the show notes. And again, man, thank you so much for your time. It was awesome just to catch up with you and get you on the show finally.
Marvin, it was a pleasure, man. Thank you so much. I'm honored. I appreciate you having me here on your show. I look forward to us meeting up again at Shutterfest or
Yep.
sometime in the future, and we'll talk more offline.
Are you going to the Atlanta conference in a couple weeks, or are you gonna?
Oh man, I wanted to go. I actually got invited,
Yeah,
but some things came up, and I have to take care of those things. So
yeah.
unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it, but I'm really excited. I hope that all my friends and peers are just like you, have fun out there.
Oh yeah, well I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna do my due diligence to give everybody FOMO because that's gonna be my
There.
goal. I'm taking.
Ah man, you're gonna tease me.
It's I was gonna be the first time I actually like pull out the camera and not be in volunteer mode, but be like in student mode and taking it in.
Right.
So I'm excited just to finally really be at a conference. It's the first time in years where I just get to be a full on student and not like
Gotcha.
working behind the scenes. And I get to be a student for 2 hours today and maybe 4 hours tomorrow, but I get to just really be immersed as a student. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous. I wish I could put myself in that position sometimes because I mean, I
Oh
don't know
man,
it all. I don't know it all. I got to
yeah.
learn too. So sometimes it's good to put yourself as a student position.
But yeah, super excited. But yeah, I can't wait to see you again, man. And like I said, well, I know next year we're gonna get together, do some fire images in St. Louis, and I'm looking
Yes.
forward to it, man. We'll stay in touch.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
That's it for this week's show. Again, thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with others. Leave those reviews and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until then, see you next week.